Two stooges in action in Area 51, trying to deceive they are in moon. Here is an excellent conspiracy argument backed up with supposed video evidence. It is claimed that the astronauts were filmed on wires to accentuate the fact that they are in 1/6 Earth's gravity. This video appears to show the astronauts being winched up on wires during the live Apollo broadcasts. There is no engine noise behind the voice of the astronaut as it comes down to land on the moon. The sound of the engines should have been deafening. The spacesuit and the spacecraft were just not strong enough to fight off the radiation either on the moon itself or through the Van Allen radiation belt. The moon walking, if doubled in speed, looks like running on Earth. People have been killed and threatened to keep this story quiet. That's why nothing has ever come out. NASA destroyed the tapes of the Apollo 11 landing, claiming that their aim was for live television. This is either monumentally short-sighted, or evidence of some kind of cover-up. The astronauts in the Apollo 11 moon mission didn't go to the moon. They couldn't because they say that the radiation in the Van Allen belt would have killed them, and in fact they staged sequences with the moon apparently 130,000 miles away when in fact the astronauts were in a low Earth orbit and filmed it all from inside the cockpit. According to various hoax proponents, including Eles and Cosmic Dave, this strange light reflection seen in the Apollo 14 TV broadcasts is evidence that the astronauts were suspended with wires in order to approximate the conditions of a weak lunar gravitational field. However, I personally think that it is most likely an internal reflection in the camera, caused by the very bright reflection of the sun on the astronauts' antenna. A model of the moon is used for the Apollo 11 descent footage. Anyone with basic knowledge of motion pictures can see it's a fake moon. This fake footage is on the tape we received from NASA, compiled on the DVD Monkey Business, false photography unedited. Another example is the lunar ascent module footage. It depicts a rotation that immediately commences at full speed, and after rotation, immediately stops. There is absolutely no indication of a drop-off in speed or a gradual acceleration, as Newton's law of motion would necessitate. In addition, there are problems with the descent of at least two limbs as well, as can be seen to the left in the Apollo 17 footage. We've gotten a lot of feedback on this, but perhaps if you'd seen the mislabeled tape sent to Seabrill from NASA's Johnson Space Center, you'd move this reason closer to number one. Cheese moon.
Look, the funny moon NASA prepared for you. Watch. Do you believe this is the moon?
Bill Kaysing, our hero, the first man to call our attention for the errors of the moon hoax. Thanks, friend. How much you must have suffered for say it. Rest in peace.
Films burn under the 100 degrees Celsius temperature under sunlight in moon.
But their photo shots was perfect.
Fox television network recently advanced the claim that NASA's Apollo moon missions were a hoax largely due to alleged anomalies in Apollo photos. 1. David Percy, an associate of the Royal Photographic Society, told FOX, "Our research suggests that images of the Apollo landings are not a true and accurate record. In our view, the Apollo pictures were faked. Many of the images are replete with inconsistencies and anomalies." Are Percy and other Apollo critics correct? Let's examine their claims. On the moon, the astronauts' only source of light was the sun. Here's an astronaut who descends into the huge shadow cast from the lunar module, yet his entire body is still visible. How is it that he is not shrouded in darkness? Apollo critic answers, it's because there's more than one light source, which means they're not on the moon.
On the contrary to the interior of the belts, where's the Earth? The exterior of the belts is terribly mortal for the human being, no matter the used clothes.
Does life imitate art, or art imitate life, or is it possible that sometimes art simulates and manipulates life? Some have claimed that Stanley Kubrick was involved in the production of the Apollo EVAs. And not long ago, a Canadian, tongue-in-cheek film was produced to make a mockery of this claim. In addition, since the 1950s, Walt Disney was recruited to create widespread public acceptance of a very expensive trip to the moon, as well as the public approval of a group of Nazi war criminals, led by Wernher von Braun. The result was widespread disinformation, but the end motive is not altogether clear. One must ask, was the space race itself a fabrication, set up by those behind what Eisenhower called the military-industrial complex? A Britain scientist group claims to be finally created in 2008, a lead nanofiber, that will protect astronauts from solar radiation, but it's not confirmed yet. So moon landing in '69 was a hoax.
Beginning at an altitude of 1,000 miles and extending an additional 25,000 miles, lay lethal bands of radiation called the Van Allen radiation belts.
The ionosphere is an enveloping layer of charged particles located 90 miles above the surface, above the atmosphere as most of us know it. The charged particles in the ionosphere perform a very important function for the planet. They deflect and absorb the solar wind, the toxic onslaught of deadly particles thrown at us by the sun. Without the ionosphere, life as we know it on Earth would perish.
Above the protective blanket of our atmosphere, and you'd be exposed to the full blast of the sun's lethal radiation.
Deadly radiation in the outer space. Radiation would kill the Apollo astronauts.
Do you believe this ridiculous shit toy can land in moon, lit off from moon, and with two men in a jeep?
This is the son of NASA.
Where's the sun rays?
Sun.
Fool. This is the real sun. On Earth atmosphere. Sun has rays. Spotlight has not rays. There's spotlights that simulates rays, but Kubrick was not so perfectionist. And in the moon is much more brighter. Moon has not atmosphere.
Scoundrel nuts training to travel to cheese moon. Scoundrel nuts training to travel to cheese moon.
Preview.
Neil Armstrong escaped for a second in this training. Almost he died.
This is a spaceship. Where's the retro rockets?
They are lifting this toy with wires on 51 area.
The whole world is trusting they're in moon. They are kidding with the world.
People a stupid Kate. Never they believe they deceived them.
Bah.
To have a powerful rocket engine blast the surface of the moon, blasting away all of the dust, and then find footprints surrounding the lunar lander, that to me would be an impossibility.
Photo after photo reveals that the lunar surface surrounding the LEM is covered with footprints.
Landing a LEM on the moon using just one retro rocket was an impossible feat. They never were able to train it on Earth, so how the hell did they it on the moon? And on the first attempt, liars.
Shadows errors.
If this light would be the sun, the shadows module would be in the direction of the black arrow. The spotlight is here.
Preview.
Real sun sends parallel rays and shadows. This light source is not the sun.
Preview.
Apollo trips were just a poor hoax. The most expensive movie of all times.
Do you believe an astronaut would drive madly as this? Never. He knows that an accident in moon would be his death. In moon there's not 911. Neil Armstrong, supposed to be the first man to step the moon.
This distant man has the face expression of a hero or of a criminal? I have not saw a hero. A hero would stay smiling. I saw a sad person with heavy consciousness, and this tribute seems a tribunal. What could be Neil Armstrong thinking now?
What a bad thing I made. But I am innocent. Nixon commanded me. But now, what do I speak to these idiot people? What Jesus will say for me because that fake swear over the Bible? I will let a letter confessing all, to be read after my death.